Discover 15 incredible meditations that can transform your life stronger than any therapist. Sarah felt a chill in the morning air wrap around her like an unwelcome embrace as she opened the door to Magnolia Bakery. The warm scent of baked goods flooded her senses, a fleeting comfort in the turmoil of her life. It reminded her every day why she poured her heart into this little establishment, crafting pastries and cakes while juggling a wild 6-year-old named Jake. With each sweet treat she created, she visualized a better life for them both, far removed from the whispers of that single mom echoing in the town square. But today was different, and not in a good way. As she woke, an email alert on her phone caused her heart to stutter. Discover the power of meditation, it read, promising transformative healing. She brushed it aside, focusing instead on kneading dough. But later, as she scrolled through her phone with exhaustion laced through her bones, she hesitated. Could a few minutes of stillness provide relief? Even just a smidgen? The memory of her father haunted her, his absence a shadow looming over her heart, every day clouded by unresolved pain. Now, out of the blue, he was back in town, battling his own demons of PTSD. She locked eyes with him from a distance as he sat on the old porch. He was so close yet so far. Swirling emotions filled her chest, a fierce instinct to shield Jake from their fractured history battled with an aching desire to reconnect. For days, she wrestled with these thoughts, and finally, a spark ignited in her meditation could be her answer. The first session felt surreal. With every breath, she visualized the tangled web of pain loosening its grip. Just as the warm comfort of acceptance washed over her, her phone buzzed with judgmental glances from neighbors at the bakery. "Look at her, trying to fix her life," one muttered. "Single moms need to get their act together," another chimed in. Before she could succumb to their whispers, she pressed play on another session. Each meditation peeled back layers of shame and guilt, revealing a world of forgiveness and resilience beneath. But even as she healed, the criticisms intensified. Why did they care? Why was she weighed down by their judgments? Then, disaster struck. A fire erupted at the local grocery store, sending smoke billowing into the sky like morning. Lives were upended, and as chaos erupted, Sarah felt a fire ignite within her, a call to action. This was her moment. She clutched Jake close, heart racing, knowing that to protect him and others, she had to confront her father. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah searched for her father among the chaos. Each step felt heavier than the last, but the flickers of fear slowly transformed into determination. This was about family and community, a chance to mend bonds that once felt irreparable. Could she let go of the past and embrace the unknown? Just then, she spotted him, lost in memories on that old porch. And she knew that perhaps, just perhaps, the key to rebuilding not just their connection, but the whole community could lie within those very walls. With everything at stake, Sarah stood on the edge of a choice: face the past, or let it continue to define her. The heavy smoke billowed out over the horizon, dark and swirling. People scurried like ants, caught in the chaos of the moment. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, adrenaline surging through her veins as she navigated through the crowd. Each face she passed reflected fear, confusion, and uncertainty. But in the midst of it all, one thought rang clear in her mind: she had to find him. The porch where her father sat, once so familiar, now felt like an altar of doubt. Memories flooded back, laughter shared over barbecues, stories exchanged under the stars, but always overshadowed by silence when it came to his absence during her childhood. With each step toward that porch, the specter of her haunted past loomed larger. What would she say? Would he even want to talk? As she approached, she caught a glimpse of him. The lines on his face were deeper, worn from battles that only he fully understood. His back was turned, a silhouette against the smoldering horizon. This was her chance, but her courage wavered. Dad? Her voice cracked, barely a whisper amid the sirens wailing in the distance. He turned slowly, eyes flickering with recognition. Sarah, the name lingered, an echo of emotions they'd both buried. There's been a fire, she said quickly, the words tumbling out. People need help. We can't just sit here. His eyes searched hers, a storm of confusion battling with instinct. There's nothing I can do, he trembled, voice subdued with years of regret. Sarah stepped closer, a spark of determination igniting within her. That's not true. We're family. We can't let fear hold us back any longer. He lowered his gaze, shame weighing down his shoulders. Family. I messed that up, Sarah. I'm not the man you need. No, you weren't, she admitted, her voice softening. But maybe you can be now. We can be. The weight of her words hung in the air between them. A moment stretched out, poignant and fragile, filled with the potential for healing. She could see the walls he had built around himself start to crack, like the smoke plumes that dissipated into the sky. In that moment, the chaos around them faded. She remembered her meditation sessions, those moments of clarity and forgiveness, and thought how forgiveness didn't always mean forgetting. It meant righting the wrongs, taking action despite the fear. Let us go, Sarah urged, reaching out her hand. He hesitated, glancing back at the ground as if it was still anchoring him to the past. But she would not let go, not this time. The children playing nearby caught her eye, their innocence untouched by momentary adult concerns, and she realized they were more than just a community, they were the future. Seeing the spark in her eyes, something flickered in his. For the first time in a long while, he saw a glimmer of hope. He took a deep breath, the weight of his hesitation slowly lifting as he grasped her hand. They rushed toward the chaos, hearts pounding in unison as a sense of urgency swept over them. With every step, they shared pieces of the past, together rewriting their story not just as father and daughter, but as partners in restoration. But as they reached the scene, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, eyes wide with panic. Sarah's blood ran cold at the sight. In a heartbeat, her world shifted again. Mom, she breathed, voice trembling in the wind. The pieces of her now fractured life were reassembling, but reality was spiraling faster than she could comprehend. Would this encounter shatter the fragile connection she and her father just formed, or could they stand together against another storm? Mom. The word escaped Sarah as if someone had torn the fabric of reality. Paralyzed, she stared, taking in the sight of her mother, a figure she hadn't seen in what felt like a lifetime. The fire's glow flickered around her mother's face, highlighting the worry etched deep into her features. Sarah. Her voice was frantic, cutting through the chaos. She rushed forward, clasping her daughter's arms, searching her eyes. Thank God you're safe. But safety felt like an illusion, a mere shimmer amidst the swirling smoke. Sarah felt the weight of the moment, the history rushing between them like an untamed river. There were so many words unsaid, so many questions unanswered. Where have you been? Sarah's voice came out harsher than she intended. The anger surged up, a tide threatening to swallow her whole. I came as soon as I heard, her mother stammered, eyes darting toward her father, who stood awkwardly a few steps behind. I didn't think you'd be here. Of course I'd be here. Sarah shot back, rage boiling beneath a fragile surface. Why wouldn't I come? This is our home. Her mother's face fell at the rawness of Sarah's pain. I thought she trailed off, flailing for a reason, a justification. Thought what? Sarah pressed, heart racing. Her father shifted uncomfortably, the air thickening with tension. Thought I'd be better off without you. No. That's not it. Before her mother could finish, smoke curled overhead, bringing in memories of fights, of love lost in misunderstandings. The fire around them seemed a metaphor for the burning emotions she struggled to understand. Do you even understand how all of this feels? Sarah glanced at her father, desperately searching for support. But he stood silent, caught in another battle of his own, one she couldn't yet decipher. Sarah, it's okay, he said softly, breaking the spell of their confrontation. Okay. Nothing is okay. She spat. We've lost so much time, and I have no idea where we stand now, Mom. For a heartbeat, the world around them faded into silence. Nearby, the crackle of flames and the cries of people blended into a dull hum as the three of them faced each other, the air thick with unresolved hurt and vulnerability. Look, her mother said, her voice trembling, let us not do this here. Not now. We need to help. There are more people in danger. Danger. Sarah echoed, disbelief adding venom to her words. We're standing in the middle of a crisis, and you think we're going to help anyone while we can't even help ourselves? Sarah, her father interjected, stepping forward. We can't lose sight of each other amid the flames. Easy for you to say, she shot back, staring at him. You were never really here. But the moment hung heavy above them, and for the first time, a raw energy coursed through her veins. A small voice inside her whispered to seize this moment, not to retreat into anger but to push forward. Without thinking, she pulled her mother into a hug, the heat from the flames wrapping around them. I need you, she murmured against her shoulder, the sweetness of forgiveness mixing with bitterness of loss. For a moment, her mother melted against her, their shared warmth cutting through years of silence. I need you too, Sarah, came her mother's muffled response, flooded with more emotion than Sarah had thought possible. As they stood intertwined, her father joined them, an unexpected circle of unity in the heart of the storm. Perhaps this was the connection they needed, a fragile thread woven in desperation but strong against the fury around them, yet even as they breathed in this newfound bond, the chaos intensified. Shouts erupted from a group nearby, a cry for help, a call to save someone trapped in the wreckage. The reality of their moment cracked into a million pieces, leaving Sarah trembling with fear once more. Please, her father's voice broke through, steadying them as he placed a hand on Sarah's back. We have to go. People need help. They need us. Could they truly rise from the ashes together? As they pulled apart, their eyes locked onwards, a new determination brewing in Sarah's chest. But lurking in the distance, the sirens wailed a warning, echoing both the urgency of their mission and the potential for more heartbreak to come. Are we ready? She asked, a tremor in her voice. In that moment, uncertainty hung in the air, heavy with the weight of reconciliation and the call of the unknown. Would this fragile reunion be enough to withstand the trials ahead? Together, they took a step toward the chaos, Sarah's heart racing anew with the question, would this be a new beginning, or another chance for everything to unravel? The heat pressed against Sarah's skin as they stepped into the fray. Everything felt surreal, the fiery backdrop, the frantic shouts, the smell of smoke curling around them like a sinister embrace. Her heart raced, but a flicker of resolve ignited within her. They weren't just here to face the chaos, they were here to be part of it. Her father took the lead, his tall frame cutting through the chaos like a lighthouse through a storm. Stay close, he instructed, his voice firm yet filled with a serenity that reassured her. In the midst of the frantic commotion, they spotted a small group of people huddled together, their faces drawn and terrified. "Over there." Sarah pointed, her breath quickening as she saw a woman trying to pull a young girl from the rubble. "Help. Please." The woman cried out. "It's okay, we're coming." Sarah shouted back, her mother already rushing toward them, her instincts kicking in like a well-rehearsed script. "Just a little further," her mother coaxed, reaching out a hand to the girl. "You're safe now. Just hold on tight." The girl's eyes were wide with fear, but a hesitant nod confirmed she was ready. They pulled her from the debris together, the weight of years gone unspoken overshadowed by the immediate urgency of the moment. Nearby, Sarah's father barked orders, directing volunteers, and organizing efforts to clear away the wreckage. He had found purpose amidst the madness, a strength Sarah hadn't seen in him in what felt like forever. It was a reminder of the man she used to look up to. "Don't forget to check for others," her father called, a fire of determination burning in his eyes. With each rescue they attempted, Sarah felt the tension weave itself tighter around their family, pushing them, challenging them to hold on to this newfound unity. And yet, the shadows of their past loomed over her, whispering doubts that threatened to pull her back. Could this really be a new leaf? Or were they simply delaying the inevitable? As they worked, she caught glimpses of her mother, sweat glistening on her brow, hands trembling but unwavering. For the first time in years, she noticed how similar they were, both warriors battling their own demons. In scenes where they had once sunk into silence, now they fought for the same goal: to save others, to save each other, but alongside the burgeoning hope, dread caught tightly in her belly. The fire crackled ominously, the ground shook sporadically, sending tremors of panic through those around them. Would they hold together in the face of more than just flames? Just as they managed to pull another person from the wreckage, an ear-splitting roar erupted nearby, a sudden wave of heat washing over them. Sarah felt her heart drop. What was that? She gasped, scanning the horizon. "Get down!" her father shouted, pushing Sarah and her mother behind the remnants of a wall as debris rained down. She squeezed her eyes shut, the chaotic sounds blending into a deafening roar. When she opened them a moment later, everything struck her in slow motion: the screams, the falling ash, and the sight of her father. He wasn't moving. Dad? Panic clawed at her throat as she pushed through the haze, stumbling over her feet. Everything froze in that moment. Would they lose him now, just as they began to find their way back to each other? "Help him!" she screamed, desperation tearing at her chest as her mother and others rushed to his side, scrambling for any sign of life. Something deep within her shifted. All at once, she felt the weight of her family past pain, present fears, and a flicker of hope. Could she dive into that darkness and wrest her father back from the edge? As she knelt beside them, a new determination lit her spirit. "Hold on, Dad," she cried, pushing through the rubble of her own fears as she reached out to him. In that moment, it wasn't just about finding him, it was about forging ahead together, no matter the cost. But would they be strong enough to face the trials yet to come? Sarah's heart pounded as she knelt beside her father's still body. Panic surged through her, a raw, electric fear coursing like fire in her veins. Her mother leaned over him, tears streaming down her face, hands shaking but trying desperately to find his pulse. "Please, please," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible above the chaos. She could feel the heat from the flames creeping closer, the acrid smoke enveloping her, stinging her eyes, filling her lungs. Time felt warped, stretching and constricting like a rubber band about to snap. "Someone call for help," her mother shouted over her shoulder. "We need a medic." Sarah's eyes darted around, and in that instant she spotted a nearby volunteer, a man with a walkie-talkie, frantically moving among the crowd. Over here! She yelled, waving her arms. The man turned, his face a mixture of determination and fear. What is happening? They're trapped, Sarah said, pointing at the rubble. We need help. He didn't waste a moment. Sprinting toward them, he called for more people, needing others to assist. Sarah focused back on her father, her hands hovering as if they could usher life back into him through sheer will. Dad, please. The desperation in her voice cracked like glass. She could see his chest hadn't moved. The stillness terrified her. Panic clawed at her throat again. Memories flooded back: his laughter, his advice, the way he would tuck her into bed and tell stories of brave nights and distant lands. She felt that little girl inside her break free, wanting him to sweep her off her feet, away from reality. The man returned, kneeling beside them, his face set in determination. I'm here, he said, voice steady. We're going to get him out of here. Please. Sarah back again, clutching her father's hand. It felt so cold, distant from the warmth she remembered. Just then, another explosion rumbled, shaking the very ground beneath them. The sound sent a wave of dread crashing over her, and the people around them stumbled back, instinctively taking cover. The dangers felt endless, but Sarah pushed the fear aside. Just hold on, Dad, she cried, squeezing his hand tighter. The medic checked for a pulse, pressed his ear to her father's chest, and shook his head. We need to move. He might need CPR. Do it, Sarah shouted, her voice raw as she watched the medic start compressions. Please, don't give up. She could see her mother couldn't look. Distraught, she buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Sarah's heart broke for what her mother had to endure, her partner in life, perhaps slipping away. With each beat, the medic urged more strength into his movements, rhythmically pushing against her father's chest. Time stretched again. Seconds felt like hours, alive with hope and despair. Suddenly, a flutter. Wait! Sarah gasped. Did you feel that? The medic paused, eyes wide. He leaned in again, listening intently. Keep pushing, he barked, and the fingers of hope tightened around Sarah's chest. Then came a gasp, a sputter, and all at once her father's eyes opened, confusion swirling in the depths of them as if fighting to escape a nightmare. Dad? Sarah convulsed with joy, disbelief flooding her. You're okay. But that moment the fragile one was shattered by another booming roar. Smoke curled thick and heavy, and she could feel the panic rise again. They had just grasped a tiny victory, but how long until the chaos returned? Get him out now, the medic commanded. As they worked to move her father, a realization hit Sarah like a thunderclap. She had stepped into the fight, but the battle was far from over. Would they be able to pull each other through the darkness that still loomed? As the ground vibrated beneath them, and the flames roared ever closer, Sarah held on tighter, her heart clamored for courage. Would they survive this storm, or would they be swallowed whole? The thought hung heavy in the air, unmistakable amidst the chaos. On 3. The medic's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. Sarah nodded, her heart pounding, sweat mingling with dirt on her forehead. She felt raw energy coursing through her. This was a moment they had to make count. 1, 2, 3. Together, they lifted her father, feeling the weight of the world in their trembling arms. Each movement was a fight against the chaos, against the fire creeping all around them. Sarah kept her eyes locked on her father's face. His eyes were alive now, but he was still lost in confusion, each breath a battle. Hang on, Dad. We're gonna get you out. Even as she spoke, a thick plume of smoke swirled between them, wrapping around her like a shroud. Her throat burned, but she didn't care. She had to focus on him, on getting him to safety. She stole a glance at her mother, who was still trembling, hands digging into her hair. It pained Sarah to see her mom like this. They needed to be strong together. The medic directed them toward a small opening in the rubble, urging them to move faster. "We're almost there. Just a few more steps." As they stumbled forward, the ground beneath them erupted in another explosion. A fireball shot towards the sky, its heat washing over them. Sarah gasped, the sudden warmth painful against her exposed skin. She looked back, fear gnawing at her insides. "We need to hurry. Keep going, we're making it." The medic's voice was a lifeline amidst the storm. They squeezed through the opening, dragging her father behind them, but just as they emerged into the relative safety of an alleyway, another deafening blast sounded. The world seemed to tilt as debris rained down. Sarah's instincts kicked in. She pushed forward, pulling her father with everything inside her. The sound of fire crackling echoed like 100 alarms in her mind. "Move!" she shouted, the adrenaline coursing through her like wildfire. Finally, they reached a clear area. Sarah dropped to her knees beside her father, her hands shaking as she searched for signs of more injuries. His face was pale, but hope flickered in his eyes. "Sarah," he rasped, barely able to form the words. "Dad. Don't talk, just breathe." She could hardly contain the relief flooding through her. They had made it, but the sanctuary was temporary. The sirens wailed in the distance, but she knew help would take time to reach them. "Mom." Her dad's voice was thick with pain and worry. She looked back to see her mother still caught in the daze of shock. "Please, Mom. We're okay," Sarah cried, rushing back to her mother. As she gripped her mother's arm, Sarah felt a tear spill down her cheek. "He's okay, he's here. We're going to be okay." Her voice was shaky, but determination seeped through. Her mother blinked, dazed. "What happened?" "He woke up. But we have to stay strong now. We can't let this destroy us." Just then, a low rumble rumbled in the distance, and Sarah's heart sank. Was it more explosions? No, something else. The ground trembled. "I don't think it's over," she whispered, fear creeping back into her heart. "Sarah, we have to find somewhere safe." The medic urged them. "There might be aftershocks from the explosions. We need to move." There was no time to waste. They had escaped the immediate flames, but another wave of terror washed over her. What lay beyond this moment? What more could these horrors unleash? As they turned to run, the rising smoke twisting like a dark heart around them, a shadow loomed in the chaos ahead. The figures of other survivors emerged, ghostly against the backdrop of sirens and smoke. But not all were alive. "Stay close," Sarah shouted, panic flooding her voice as the group stumbled onward. The reality hit hard. The world was shattering around them. Were they truly safe? How many had perished in the blaze? Underneath that weight, Sarah felt something swell inside her. A fierce determination. The fight wasn't over. It couldn't be. With her family beside her, she took a deep breath. Through the smoke, she glimpsed a flicker of hope ahead, but what lay waiting in the path? The smoke was a curtain, hiding what lay ahead. But Sarah didn't hesitate. She felt her father's heavy weight against her side, and her mother grasped her other hand, a lifeline in a world gone mad. The shadows of the other survivors sketched haunting silhouettes against the bright, flickering lights of the fire. Fear clawed at her heart, but she pushed it down, like battling a wave that threatened to swallow her whole. "Keep moving," the medic urged again, glancing back at the group. His face was smeared with dirt, but his eyes were sharp, focused. We need to find shelter and regroup. Where? Sarah shouted, trying to make her voice rise above the chaos. Her chest tightened as she scanned the streets for any hint of safety. Buildings loomed like ghosts, their windows shattered, their walls scarred. Her mind raced through memories of their neighborhood, wondering if anywhere was untouched. Over there. The medic pointed to a nearby cafe, the sign hanging by a single rusted chain. It was half collapsed, but it had a sturdy enough roof. Fear mingled with hope, and Sarah felt a surge of urgency. They needed to get inside. On my count, push, she said, gathering her strength for another heave. 1, 2, 3. They thrust her father forward, and he stumbled beneath the weight, but they all rallied together, drawing on the last reserves of their strength. As they pushed through the cafe's doorway, the inside was dim, but at least they weren't exposed to the debris outside. Several people had already huddled here, some covered in ash and soot, others cradling their loved ones as they wept. This place had turned into an unlikely refuge, but with so many survivors packed together, there was a tension in the air that was hard to ignore. Sarah knelt beside her father, who was gasping for breath. Just hold on, Dad. Help is coming. She couldn't stop herself from scanning the faces around them, searching for signs of panic or injury. She couldn't shake the feeling that their ordeal was far from over. Is anyone a doctor? The medic called, breaking through the heavy silence as he looked around with urgency. A woman stepped forward, her face streaked with tears but determination echoing in her eyes. I am. Let me see him. As they shifted her father onto the floor of the cafe, Sarah's heart raced. She held her breath, willing him to be okay. Was he stable enough for them to take action, or was there something worse lurking beneath the surface of his injuries? The man beside her, an elderly gentleman, gripped her arm. You're doing great, sweetheart. It's okay to be scared. Just don't lose hope. His words settled like a bomb over Sarah's fraying nerves. I can't. She managed, her voice barely above a whisper. I just can't. But inside, a storm raged. Questions of what would happen next, of whether they had truly escaped the fire, haunted her thoughts. Suddenly, the cafe shook more violently than before, objects crashed to the ground, and the lights flickered. Panic erupted as people scrambled for safety, fear infecting the room like wildfire. Get away from the windows. The medic yelled as he rushed to steady an overturned table, but as Sarah glanced back toward her father, she noticed the commotion had shifted. The cafe door swung open again, but it wasn't just more survivors, dark silhouettes framed against the chaos. They were armed figures moving toward them. Her heart plummeted. Who were they? What did they want? Dad. Hold on tight. She shouted, urgency coursing through her. She pulled her mother close, then, cutting through the noise, she heard it. A desperate voice calling out, help. What had they stumbled into now? The knife of fear twisted deeper as she grasped the tension in the air. Would their fight for safety lead them to something more terrifying? As the door creaked ominously, she realized their worst nightmares might just be beginning. The door swung wide, revealing a man cloaked in shadow. His eyes, glinting under the flickering cafe lights, darted around the room before settling on Sarah. He shouted something, but the sound was swallowed by the rising panic. Stay back. The medic commanded, stepping in front of the injured father. We don't know who you are. The armed figures behind the man shifted, their stances tense. Sarah's pulse raced. The scene around her morphed into a twisted nightmare, familiar faces blending into the chaos. The cafe's world began to close in on her. Help us! Sarah shouted, her voice nearly breaking. We need help. He is hurt. She raised her hand, pointing towards her father. Behind her, she heard her mother whimper, worry draping over them like a heavy fog. The lead figure hesitated before taking a step forward, his hand raised in a gesture meant to calm. "We're not here to hurt you," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in the air. "The city is dangerous. We're here to escort you to safety." Safety? The word felt foreign, an illusion in such a chaotic moment. "What do you mean by safety?" Panic tangled with desperation as she spoke, demanding a clearer answer. "If you trust us, we can get you to a shelter." He motioned to the others who seemed more like a makeshift army than a friendly help crew. They scanned the cafe, their weapons still tense and ready. "We have to move, and fast. More fires are spreading across the city. It's not safe here." A wave of uncertainty clawed at Sarah. What had they stumbled into? The memories of her old life, family dinners, laughter, even the mundane comforts of home clashed with the harsh reality around her. Could she trust this man? But what other option was there? "Where's the shelter?" the medic asked, his eyes having lost their focus momentarily as the weight of their situation sank in. He turned his head slightly, looking back at Sarah, waiting for her to make the call. "Dad?" It was such a small sound, a whisper against the growing wall of noise. But his face remained pale, drawn. She took a deep breath. Fear was creeping into her heart again, threatening to overwhelm her. We need to go. He needs help." "Okay," the medic said, stepping aside to let the man approach. "But if you make one wrong move, no wrong moves, I promise," the man said, his voice low but firm. "Just stay close. We'll get you through this." As the man moved toward her father, Sarah's heart knotted. Would they lead her into more danger, or would they finally escape this nightmare? The elderly gentleman beside her cupped her face, drawing her focus. "Stay brave, sweet girl. You've already fought so hard. Trust yourself." Those words filled a corner of her doubt with a flicker of strength. The cafe trembled with anxiety, chairs knocked from the chaotic scramble, but there was no time to dwell on them. As the armed figures began to position themselves, ready to escort them out, Sarah made her choice. The medic led her father carefully between two customers on the floor, and she felt her heart swell at the sight of his overwhelming care. "On my signal, we move," he said quietly, eyes darting toward the entrance. Just as Sarah prepared to step towards the door, a loud crash erupted from outside, followed by shouting. Heart racing, she glanced again towards the doorway, where shadows danced in the smoke. Something was coming. "Now!" the medic commanded, urgency sharpening his words. "Go! Go! Go!" They surged past the threshold, and Sarah's world turned into a whirlwind of motion, arms gripping each other, the sounds of chaos trailing behind them. But even as they fled, a single thought pierced through: what awaited them in the unknown? As they stumbled onto the street, the acrid smell of smoke clawed at her lungs, and she steeled herself against the situation as gravity. The darkness held a clutch of secrets, and for every step into the night, she felt something watching them. Would they find true safety, or would the shadows close in tighter? They stepped outside, and the world shifted. Sarah's eyes blinked against the swirling smoke that clung to the air like a bad memory. The street was alive with chaos, people screaming, running, and cars abandoned. Shadows darted past them, fleeting from one darkened storefront to another. Her heart raced, not knowing where to focus. Everything felt like a blur. "Keep moving," the man urged, guiding them down the sidewalk. The medic stayed close, supporting her father, who leaned heavily against him. Sarah could hear her mom's shaky breaths, the sound both grounding and alarming, echoing the fear she felt within. They turned a corner, and for a brief moment, it was quieter. The distant sounds of panic faded, replaced by the crackle of flames and the low rumble of collapsing buildings. For a second, the world slowed down, as if holding its breath. It gave her a moment to process where were they even going. What is the plan? She gasped, fighting to keep up. Just over this bridge, the man replied, pointing ahead. There's a makeshift shelter where we can regroup. We'll be safe, I promise. Safe, the term hung uneasily in the air. Her instincts screamed out, but something inside her felt a weight of hope pressing down. It was a confusing game, trusting the stranger leading them while her heart ached for her father's well-being. Why is it so quiet here? The medic asked, glancing around as if sensing a lurking danger behind the peace that cloaked them. Because, the man said, lowering his voice as they approached the bridge, some of the worst is yet to come. This part of the city is about to be targeted. His words rewired her anxiety. Sarah felt a jolt run through her, a primal instinct pushing her forward. They pounded up the worn steps of the bridge, adrenaline surging as the soot-stained skyline loomed behind them. As they reached the top, Sarah's breath caught. Below, the streets were lined with flickers of orange and red, the fires painted a grotesque picture against the night. She glimpsed people's faces lit an awful light, some helping others, some fleeing. It was a relentless whirlwind of action, and she was caught in the eye of the storm. Hold on tight. The medic shouted, turning abruptly, eyes wide. A rumble echoed, followed by a desperate shout. Run! The man yelled, propelling them forward. They sprinted down the other side of the bridge, engines roared and tires screeched unexpectedly behind them. Sarah dared a look over her shoulder, and her stomach dropped. A vehicle, a large, armored truck, barreled toward them, its headlights piercing through the smoky haze. Faster! She urged, lungs burning as they put more distance between themselves and the deadly threat behind. But suddenly, Sarah stumbled, her foot twisted awkwardly on an uneven part of the pavement. She fell hard, skin scraping against the gritty surface. A sharp pain shot through her leg, but she didn't have time to react. Sarah! Her mother's voice twisted with panic. The medic quickly halted, rushing back to grab her arm. You have to get up. We have to go. As they struggled to help her, the sound of the truck grew louder. Shadows loomed ominously over her, and in that second, the darkness seemed thicker, almost alive, reaching for them. Get up! The medic shouted, terror flooding his voice. With trembling fingers, Sarah pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. She clutched her mother's hand, searching the man's eyes. Would they make it? The bridge creaked as explosions rattled the ground nearby, and she felt herself inhale, praying silently. Stay together, he urged, and they began to move again, the weight of fear pulsing between them. As they plunged into the depths of the night, a new thought echoed in her mind. What if this darkness hid more than just danger? What if there was a truth lurking beneath? In what felt like an endless moment, they reached the last step of the bridge. But as they crossed over, an eerie silence fell over them. Sarah turned to face the shadows still creeping behind, clutching the fading hope that survived within her. In that stillness, she realized they were not just running from the flames. The scary truth was that they might be running toward something else entirely. What awaited them in the undiscovered territory? The tension exploded as they crossed onto the asphalt of the street, the pulse of chaos still thrumming behind them. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest, every beat merging with the footfalls of her family as they ran. The shadows from the past whispered in her ears, but she pushed them away. Now was not the time to falter. She had her father beside her, her mother close enough to feel the warmth of their shared fear and hope. The man leading them glanced back, assessing their pace. We're almost there. Just a few more blocks. His voice cut through the fear, a lifeline guiding them through the dark. Behind her, the echo of sirens and the roar of fire painted a portrait of devastation just out of reach. "Hurry!" the medic urged, looking back with concern. They were closer to the makeshift shelter, a giant tent braced against the night, flickering lights adorning the entrance like stars in a fractured sky. Safety felt so near, yet so fragile. As they sprinted toward the tent, Sarah caught a glimpse of familiar faces amongst the crowd. Neighbors, friends, and strangers alike huddled together. Recognition bathed in both relief and anguish flowed through her. They had all lost something, but they were also resilient. Were they all ready to rise from the ashes of this catastrophe? Just as they reached the entrance, she felt her father lean heavily against her, panic snaking through her veins anew. "Dad." She turned, urgency gripping her as he stumbled slightly. "Keep going," she shouted, her voice cracking. "We're so close." They slipped inside the tent, a whirlwind of bodies and emotions swirling around them. The scent of smoke mixed with the tang of fear, but Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite deep within her. They had made it this far together. The medic led them to a cluster of volunteers, nurses wearing scrubs stained with soot and a fierce determination in their eyes. "We need help here," he declared, gesturing to her father. The urgency was palpable as Sarah fell to her knees beside him, her heart aching with worry. Had they finally found refuge? "Hold on, Dad, please hold on," she whispered, squeezing his hand tightly, as if amplifying the warmth of their connection could shield him from the growing uncertainty. Her mother crouched down, spreading her hands over her father's forehead, a soothing gesture steeped in love. The nurses moved like well-oiled machines, assessing his condition, relaying orders, and comforting Sarah in the chaos. Even in the whirlwind around them, Sarah could sense the strength rising within her, capturing remnants of the love she had initially thought lost. In the back of her mind, memories of meditation floated through, moments of clarity, lessons of forgiveness, whispers of healing. She hadn't just learned how to find peace in silence, she had forged a path toward connection, toward resilience. It was time to adopt that mindset in this moment of crisis. She closed her eyes briefly, drawing in deep breaths, filling herself with the steady rhythm of hope. As they woke, Sarah noticed her father's breathing starting to steady, a sign of resilience. "You're going to be okay, Dad," she murmured, confidence flowing from her lips. "We're going to get through this together." And just like that, the shadows began to recede. She saw her mother share a glance with the medic, their worry mingling with the first glimmers of possibility. Finally, someone appeared with a clipboard, a determined-looking woman with serious eyes who introduced herself as the shelter coordinator. "We've set up a triage unit. We are ready to take in those who need help," she said, scanning the crowded space. Her gaze landed on Sarah and her family, determination evident in her stance. "Where is everyone else?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "What about those still out there?" "Help is on the way. We've got responders looking for survivors in the affected areas. Hang tight, they'll be here soon." Her eyes softened for a brief moment before she continued. "Stay strong, all of you." In that instant, Sarah felt a surge of collective strength pull them together, a sense of purpose wrapping around her like a warm blanket. They were not defined by the chaos that had unfolded. They were survivors, fighters. Her father shifted slightly, his eyes fluttering open. Relief cascaded over her like a wave as she leaned closer, brushing a tendril of hair from his brow. "Sarah," he whispered, hoarse, confusion battling with recognition. "We should," she hushed him, a loving smile breaking through. "You're safe now. We're safe." As her words settled in the air, shadows began to lift. Sarah's hand found her mother's, clasping it tightly, re-establishing connections forged in the fire of their shared history. but outside, the threat still loomed, the echoes of fire still crackling like unfinished business. They would face it together. Each moment forward was a testament to resilience, a reminder that, no matter how dark the storm, they were stronger together. They had faced devastation, renewed an ancient bond, and there lay the promise of healing and hope up ahead. In that flickering tent, encircled by chaos yet safe in their unity, Sarah's heart expanded, bursting with an electric determination. No matter what the future held, they would rebuild, find their footing, and emerge as one stronger than the flames that had sought to break them. This was just the beginning. Now it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive stories that can inspire your own journey. Leave a like immediately to feed their algorithm and show your support for content like this. Comment down below your reaction to this heart-stopping finale, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the message. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.